Once again, welcome to Just Words. I'm Pastor Michael Lafamoise, your host for Mountain View Baptist Church. We've been looking at the ghosts of Christians past, examining our spiritual heritage, those who have left us a legacy in the Lord and what we can learn from them today. I've been using the example in my own life of my grandparents who faithfully served the Lord, Pastor Jerry Osborne and Wanda Lou Osborne. Grandpa was one. Pastor Jerry Osborne was one who really understood that he was a citizen of heaven, but that he also had responsibilities to be a good and faithful citizen on earth. He was one who sought first the kingdom of God. That was what he did, and that's what he called his church to do. Jesus Christ and his kingdom must be first in everything. He was a faithful citizen of heaven. He served and followed Christ first and foremost in everything he did, and the same thing could be said of my dear grandmother. However, they understood that they were here to live a life on purpose, a life of purpose here on the earth. And so, as we have talked, they served the Lord faithfully at the church that they founded. They served the Lord daily. They served the Lord weekly. They served the Lord year by year and decade by decade, ever enduring whatever hardship came their way, being faithful in the ministry that the Lord had given to them. But all during that time, Grandpa was also one who called his people and who himself lived in such a way that he wanted to be a faithful citizen of his own country, of the place that God had put him on earth. He was an American citizen. He was a citizen of heaven, but he was also a citizen of the United States. And he took both citizenships seriously. He saw himself as one who lived with a dual citizenship. You see, he was living here presently during his life, but he was every day on his way. He was on a journey to his home in heaven. He understood that he had a citizenship in heaven, but right now he was to be faithful on the earth. And he also understood that this worked together. When he got to heaven, he believed he would be rewarded for his work as a citizen on earth. And I believe that was true. I believe when the Lord said, "Well done, good and faithful servant," to Jerry Osborne, what the Lord was saying is, you were a good citizen of earth where I put you. And now enter into the joy of your Lord, because you are indeed, and you always have been, a citizen of heaven. And now enter into your ultimate destiny, which I have prepared for you. And so Jerry lived like that. Wanda lived like that. They lived, yes, with one foot in heaven, with their citizenship in heaven, but also with the other foot firmly planted here on earth. They understood that they needed to live a life that was relevant to the world around them. And that's why in their ministry at their church, they were ever anxious to reach out to their community. Grandpa was one who was known very well at the Norwalk City Council. He was known by every mayor that served during his tenure at the church. He was one who was a friend of the city, but also would call to the city and would protest against the city when it would do things that he found to be out of line with Christian values and with family values and with ethics and morality. He would call out the city. But because he had made himself such a good and solid citizen of his city, the city council, the elders, the mayor, people would take notice when Jerry Osborne arrived and stood to say something. And the reason they took notice was because he wasn't just some whining complainer on the corner of Norwalk and Alondra Boulevards. No, he was somebody who was actively engaged and who cared for the people of his city and who cared for his community. And because that reputation preceded him, well, he was welcome to lodge his complaints with the city fathers. He was welcome to lodge his complaints at City Hall because he was first and foremost a faithful citizen. The Bible exhorts us that we should be those who live quiet and peaceable lives wherever God has placed us. And Wanda and Jerry couldn't have been more quiet than they were. They were a quiet couple with a quiet family. They were reserved type of people. They were mild-mannered indeed. And yet, they took seriously their citizenship. And they didn't just sit quiet and peaceably and not ever say anything. No, they stood up for the cause of Jesus Christ in their community. Because they felt as they served Christ in their community, that their community would be better off. Because they believed in the power of the gospel and in the necessity of getting the gospel to everyone. And also living in such a way that the gospel they believed in would have felt influences and effects through their citizenship on earth. Now, today, I'm afraid there are just too many Christians. It is a hot button issue when we start dabbling in politics within the church. I mean, we just get explosions everywhere. Grenades start being launched. People start getting upset and angry. We have fights and conflicts and struggles. You would think it was the world invading our space, and yet it's just Christians and their fellow neighbor Christians arguing and fighting and complaining. Because we've lost sight of what it means to be a true citizenship of your community, of your country, and also of heaven. See, the heaven has to come first. The kingdom of God has to be at the top. It has to be the priority. It has to be the supreme. It has to be that which filters everything else beneath it. And so, I don't know why it's become so controversial, but when a Christian gets involved in politics, they must understand my testimony, my witness must come first. Whoever I'm for, whoever I'm against, I must be somebody who has the decorum of a Christian, where love and grace and mercy and justice, these things are things that I live by, that I speak by, that I behave by. Because in politics, there's always the other side, there's always the other guy, there's always the other part of the issue where we're against, and we turn those people into the devil, don't we? They're the antagonist, they're the adversary, they're the enemy, and they're of the darkness. And we make them into these monsters which must be slain, right? We've got to set out to destroy these people. We've got to set out and let everybody know how evil these people are. And we get so caught up in the emotion that our witness and our testimony goes right out the window. And we are no longer acting as a citizen of heaven first, but a citizen of whatever country first. And heaven has dropped down here. The cause of Christ has dropped down here because I'm so excited about my cause, my politics, my side. Christians, we just got to slow down. Pastor Jerry Osborne and Wanda Lou would say we just got to slow down, we got to pull back, and we got to make sure that our witness is always first and foremost in our minds. With that, I'm Pastor Mike, and these are just words.